Today we're taking a look at our Pentax 6.7 to Fuji GFX tilt rocker tilt shift adapter, and we're going to use it on the new Fuji GFX 102. This adapter turns a Pentax 6.7 lens into a tilt shift lens for your Fuji GFX camera for selective focus photography, perspective distortion correction, and shift panoramas. Here's the adapter itself. This is an all-metal adapter. It's got a really nice pro finish on it, so it'll fit right in with your professional Fuji GFX camera and gear. And as you can see on the front here, this is where we mount our Pentax 6.7 medium format lens. And then on the rear here is where we mount the camera. It's an all-metal mount, red mounting point there. And this isn't just a regular adapter. It doesn't just adapt a Pentax 6.7 lens to your GFX camera. It also has tilt shift functionality. So if we press this silver shift button right here, we can shift the lens 10 millimeters to the right or 10 millimeters to the left for a total shift of 20 millimeters. And then on the side here, we've got this little golden screw. And if we loosen this screw, we can tilt the lens down up to 10 degrees of tilt. And to rotate the tilt 360 degrees, we got this little gold button here. We just press that gold button to rotate the tilt wherever we want it in our shot. And this adapter also has a tripod foot down here. You can see on the bottom, we've got a 1/4-20 screw, so we can attach this to a tripod, which is really nice when you're adapting a heavy medium format lens on your camera. You don't have to have the lens hanging off the adapter and camera. You can put the support in the middle between the camera and the lens. This also has an Arca Swiss style mounting point, so you can slide this into an Arca Swiss style tripod, and you can also remove it. You'll just need a hex screw, and you can remove it in case you don't want it on your adapter. If you just want to use the adapter without the tripod foot, it's removable. Now you might be wondering, how exactly does a lens adapter work? How am I able to use this adapter to adapt this medium format Pentax 6.7 lens to this medium format digital? It's actually pretty simple. It all comes down to focal flange distance. This Pentax 6.7 lens was designed for a Pentax 6.7 camera that had a mirror in it. And the reason they didn't mount the lens closer to the film plane is they needed this extra space for the mirror that flapped up and down. And because this lens is designed for that extra space, when we want to adapt it to something like this Fujifilm GFX 102, we're going to need about this much space between the lens and the digital sensor of the camera for this lens to focus to infinity. To duplicate the mounting space of this Pentax 6.7 lens, how it would mount on a Pentax 6.7 camera, we need to replicate that spacing. And the way we do it is we mount an adapter in between. This space makes up the difference and allows the medium format lens to focus to infinity. And the great thing about adapting vintage lenses like this with a long flange distance is we can put an adapter in the middle that adds functionality, like this tilt rocker, which adds tilt shift functionality. So yeah, this adapter adds tilt shift functionality to this medium format lens. And you might be wondering, how is that possible? How am I able to tilt this lens or shift it without it vignetting on the GFX sensor? And the reason we're able to do this is the Pentax 6.7 lens has a larger image circle than the Fuji GFX digital sensor. And the image circle of this lens is large enough that we're able to shift the sensor left and right, up and down, and we're able to tilt the lens without getting to the edge of that image circle, so we're not getting any vignetting. Now, before we go any farther, I have to let you know that this is a fully manual adapter. It has no electronic communication pins and no mechanical adjustments. So when you adapt a Pentax 6.7 lens to your Fuji GFX camera with this adapter, you will not have any electronic control of focus or aperture adjustment, which means you'll simply have to manually focus and manually adjust the aperture of your lens yourself. And you're going to want to use the manual shooting mode in your Fuji GFX camera or some of the supported program modes. This adapter is compatible with all Pentax 6.7 lenses. So if you have a Pentax 6.7 lens or you're looking to pick one up, pretty much all of those lenses will work on this adapter just fine. You don't have to worry about any compatibility issues. This supports all Pentax 6.7 lenses. Now, before we adapt this Pentax 6.7 lens to our tilt rocker tilt shift adapter, there's one thing to know. As you can see, the aperture is currently fully open at, I believe this is an f2.8 lens or a 2.4 lens. So the aperture is open at f2.4. And if I try to adjust the aperture with the manual aperture control, you can see the aperture is not adjusting. And that's because currently this lens is set to auto mode. So if we want to turn this off and go to manual aperture control, which is a must if you're adapting it to one of our manual adapters, it's very simple. Depending on the design, you're just going to set the auto to manual. And with this lens, it's just this little slider. We just slide that into place. Now we're on man for manual. And now, as you can see, as I adjust the aperture, we are now able to adjust it. Now it's pretty easy to bump it and turn it off. So if you're having trouble controlling aperture, just make sure to check to make sure you're in manual mode. Mounting the lens on the adapter is pretty simple. We're just gonna find our red mounting point on the lens, line it up with the red mounting point on the adapter. Just gonna slide the adapter and the lens together and then rotate the lens to lock it to the adapter. Pretty simple. And then if we want to remove the lens from the adapter, see this little silver button here? It's actually not a button, it's actually a lever. And if you slide it towards the camera away from the lens, it engages the locking pin. Then you can turn the lens to remove it from the adapter. And with our adapters, we get a lot of requests, people asking how much play is between the lens and adapter. And some of our adapters have a little bit of play, but with this one, as you can see, there's almost no play at all. It is very tightly locked into place. Yeah, that lens is firmly attached to the adapter. It's not going anywhere. Okay, now it's time to adapt our tilt rocker tilt shift adapter and medium format lens to the Fujifilm GFX 102. Same process, find the red mounting dot on the adapter, line it up with the red mounting dot on the camera, press the adapter into the camera just like you would press a lens, and then rotate the adapter to lock it to the camera. And to remove the adapter from the camera, you do it just like you would remove a GFX lens. Press the lens release button and then rotate the adapter lens to remove it. And again, let's check the play between the adapter and GFX camera. There's a little bit more play than between the lens and adapter, but it's not a lot. It's just a very slight amount. So yeah, that's pretty good, pretty tight. Now, before we can use this fully manual lens on this GFX camera, you may have to do one quick setting adjustment. So to get our Fuji GFX camera to work with an adapted manual lens, we're gonna go to Menu. We're going to go to the tool icon down here. We're gonna go down to button dial settings. And then we're gonna go to the second page and see right here it says shoot without lens. That's currently turned off, so we're gonna open that and we're gonna turn it on. Now our GFX camera will be able to shoot without an electronic GFX lens attached to it, which means we can use it with a Fotodiox adapter and a manual lens. Okay, now we get to the fun part, using the adapter's tilt shift functionality. Like I showed at the beginning, to tilt your lens, you're gonna loosen this gold screw, and then you can tilt down up to 10 degrees of tilt. And as you can see right here, we actually have little markings that show what tilt you're at. And so you can kind of pick your tilt. I'm gonna go a full 10 degrees, and then you rotate the golden screw again to lock the tilt in place. So now it's locked, it's not gonna move. Now this adapter doesn't just tilt adapted lenses down, because you can rotate the tilt to anywhere you want. You just push this gold button right here, and you can rotate it 360 degrees. So there we go, now I'm tilted to the left. I can have it tilted up like that. I can rotate it to have it tilted to the right. So wherever you want to put the tilt, wherever you want that tilt effect in your scene, you can just adjust it at will. And that brings up an interesting point. If you have your adapter on a tripod, when you push this rotating button, you're not gonna be rotating the lens, you're gonna be rotating the camera. And that's fine for certain settings, but in other situations, you're probably gonna wanna have your tripod on your camera so you can do free rotations of this adapter without having to adjust to the tripod. Now you can use tilt in a lot of different kinds of photography. If you're doing a portrait and you want kind of that selective focus look on your model's face while you throw everything else out of focus, tilting is a good tool for that, but it's also great for art photography where you just are doing some very slight focus adjustments. Let's say you're photographing two subjects, you've got your camera wide open, so it's a really shallow depth of field, and you want both of your subjects in focus, but they're in different planes of focus. Well, by slightly tilting your lens, sometimes not even that much, just a very little bit, you can adjust the plane of focus. You can actually tilt the plane of focus so both subjects are in focus and you have a much nicer shot. Now to demo the tilt effects with this lens and camera, I went all the way. I opened the lens all the way to f2.4 and then I tilted 10 degrees. So as you can see in these shots, I have a really extreme amount of selective focus. I just have a very narrow sliver of focus while everything else in these shots is going out of focus. In this first shot, I have it tilted down, so the sliver of focus is horizontal. And then in the second shot, I have it tilted sideways. I've got it tilted to the left, and the band of focus is vertical. Now, there are some art photographers who like to use this amount of selective focus, this amount of tilt, for really extreme, almost like lens baby style selective focus. And that's great for certain kinds of photographers. The only reason I'm demoing it at this extreme is to show how far you can go with the tilt effect. Generally speaking, you are not going to need this much, and you're going to do a more subtle effect with your tilt. Next up, we have our shift button on the top here, and we can shift 10 millimeters to the left or 10 millimeters to the right for a total of 20 millimeters of shift. And shifting is great for perspective distortion control. This is the 105 millimeter lens, so this is a pretty long lens. You're generally not going to need shifting with a lens this long, but there are Pentax 6.7 lenses that are wider. There's a 45 millimeter, there's a 35 millimeter fisheye. And with either of those lenses, having this shift effect could be really useful. Let's say you're pointing a wider lens with this adapter and camera. You're pointing it up at a building and you've got some distortion on the leading lines of the building. They're going together really close. You can kind of see the perspective distortion with the wide angle lens. Well, if you want to correct that distortion, if you want to make those lines straighter, you're simply going to rotate the camera 90 degrees, and then you're going to shift the lens up. And by shifting up, you're actually going to have control over those leading lines, and you can make them straighter for a more pleasing architecture shot. Now, these demo images I'm showing aren't with this lens or camera. They were with a wider lens on a different tilt shift adapter, but I just wanted to demonstrate what you can do with perspective distortion control with our shift adapter if you're using a wide enough medium format lens. And one of the things I really like to do with our shift adapters is shoot stitched panoramas. Now, this is a style that not everyone appreciates, but I really enjoy shooting them. Basically, you're gonna lock your camera down on a tripod. You're gonna make sure your focus is all set, make sure your composition is all set, and then you're going to shift the camera all the way to the right, take a picture, and then shift the camera all the way to the left and take a picture. And then you're going to take these two pictures into your photo editing software and use a photo merge function to merge them together for a stitched panoramic image. And because of the nature of the GFX's sensor, its size, the panorama isn't going to be that panoramic, but you're definitely getting a higher resolution stitched image shot through the same lens, so you're capturing more of the image circle of your Pentax 6.7 lens for a wider, slightly higher resolution shot. Again, shooting stitched panoramas with a shift adapter isn't for everyone, but if it seems cool to you, I would definitely try it out. I enjoy it. This adapter is currently compatible with all Fuji GFX cameras, so if you've got a GFX camera and you want to adapt a medium format lens to it with tilt shift functionality, definitely check this adapter out, as well as the various other types of tilt rocker, tilt shift adapters we make for Fuji GFX cameras. Okay, that was a quick look at using our Pentax 6.7 to Fuji GFX tilt rocker tilt shift adapter with the GFX 102. If you'd like to learn more about this adapter or any of the tilt rocker tilt shift adapters we have to offer, click the link in the description below. And if you have any questions or comments about anything in this video, comment below. I'd love to talk to you. Also, click right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Fotodiox.com, and have fun shooting tilt shift photography.